Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of Retribution's podcast, Gloom Talk. I'm still joined by Inferno, Malt, and Bing. If you guys want to give yourself another quick intro.
I guess I'll be starting again. So, hey everyone, Big Bong there. Still alive after first part, pretty much, and going on for part 2.
I'm still Maltknights here, and excited to get into more topics. And I'm an officer of Retribution, and just glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm, still Inferno. Haven't gone anywhere. Haven't died yet. Just a Wayfinder creative here. So
Part 2. We're actually gonna go for Bing, Malt, and Inferno's feuds on the game because you've heard some of Bing's, you've heard some of mine. But we haven't had Malt and Inferno back on the podcast in quite a while, so it'd be nice to know where they're standing with the game now. So, Malt, let's start with you first.
Yeah. So as I said in the other one, I have basically 100 hours in this game. So take that way you will. But I'm enjoying it, and I'm also a little skeptical at the same time. It's kept me entertained for all the time I've been in it. But we talked about like disconnects and just little things like the guns and added, and just it starts to add up, honestly. And so I'm a little concerned for its future. And I just hope that they be more detailed with their patch notes and everything we talked about. But I'm enjoying the game. I think it's a really fun game. It's exactly what it said it is. I really wish you could trade premium currency. That's kind of something that's like Warframe, and they said we're modeling after Warframe, and they're not doing that yet. So that is kind of a concern because I feel like that's the best part of Warframe in general is like in terms of monetization, it makes it feel really fair because even though it'll take thousands of hours to get everything, you can literally get in everything. Except for a few things I know that are strictly cash based, but on majority, like 95% at least. So those are just some of my concerns with the overall state of the game, people being upset about it, and 2 weeks, disconnect still happening. But as in terms of like when I'm actually playing it and it's working as intended, it's great. I think it offers lots of hours of fun and different like swords and weapons and guns to level up and play through.
Nice. Inferno, what about you, buddy?
yeah, this past week it's been good to play. I mean, I enjoy logging into the game. I'm happy that the queue isn't like 17,000 anymore. And overall, like Malty said, when the game works, it's great. When it doesn't work and you get kicked out mid-dungeon run, that's not so great. It's unfortunate that we still have disconnects as well, still going on at this point in the game. But I mean, they're working on it. They say that they're working on it, and I trust that they're gonna fix it and they're gonna make this game good. But I mean, right now it's just getting a little much sometimes, because sometimes you can play for like 5-10 hours at a time and not get disconnected, and then other times you're just doing your thing for 5-10 minutes in a dungeon and you get disconnected from the game. It kicks you out. You get your infinite loading screen or whatever, and it's just I don't know. It's getting to be a bit much, but when it works, it's good. When it doesn't work, it's a fun time, we'll say.
Definitely brings the morale down sometimes.
Yeah. Let's quickly go on the Bing, and then we can go into the discussion more. So, Bing, what was it you wanted to say on this subject?
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to update a bit my view on the game because last time, if you remember from the other podcast, I've left the game at like an 8 out of 10, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But right now, I've played a bit more since then. I finished a story, got my first Wayfinder to 30. I've just been grinding pretty much the game and getting used to everything in it. So the magic of it is kind of slowly fading away, I feel. And it's starting to show its rough edges a bit more, I feel. So I kind of feel like my view of the game is slowly going down, and like Multi said, a bit like concerned for what's going to happen next. The
Yeah.
gameplay is still like amazing. The moment just fighting is super fun. The weapons are nice. The Wayfinder feel good. But I feel just in terms of rewards, like the game spread them out a bit too much. So there's like big chunk of time where you feel like you don't achieve anything really. Just do dungeons, get a bit of EXP, get a bit of materials. Yeah, will maybe be useful later, but not much. So I feel like it's missing something to make like each run a bit more impactful. And what's leaving me a bit skeptical also is the story and the bosses quality. Now that I finish it, because like the game starts really strong, like the story starts real interesting. The first bosses are just better and better one after the other until like the first, I would say, but not like the first boss, but the boss that's called the first. A bit confusing there, but well, as I said, like it reached a peak at the first, then it slowly starts to go down. Like the bosses become more generic, the story feels more rushed. Like even the second zone feels super simple and bland compared to the islands, I feel. And then it picks up a tiny bit at the end, like the last bosses, like well, not boss, but like the last boss, the final one, the Dread Legion, I feel is really cool and like leave a good taste. But yeah, it's pretty much like makes a ramp almost. Like it starts good, then goes down, and then you got a tiny bit more good at the end to just like make that ramp and just launch into whatever else is coming next that we don't know yet. So I hope the next bosses and the next bit of story is gonna come is good, or else that launch is just gonna crash pretty much.
Question for you on that then quickly, just to clarify. When you
Yeah.
say rough around the edges, is that because of the early access state that the game's in right now, or do you feel like that's how the rest of the stuff will kind of lean towards as the free-to-play launch happens? And
When I say rough around the edges, I don't mean like in terms of like bugs or anything. I mean when you think about like, I feel the systems are not quite there yet. Like the echo system is not full. I think it missed something. The artifacts are super simple right now. Same for the trinkets. Like there's no really like stat bonuses. I mean there are some, but right now they're just not worth it. And like there's so little gear to work with that I feel like there's some depth missing in there. Like if we, let's say we compare to like something like WoW, where you have like every piece of armor on your character you can change and match and like change your stats. Some of them have abilities tied to them, or you can like slaughter stuff in them. Like there's so much piece and stuff to work with, and then you have your skill trees and whatever other system there are. I feel like there's something missing that just would need to be put a tiny bit more. Like not sure if it's with the echoes or with the artifacts or with the trinket. I'm not sure what, but I feel like it's missing something that's just not quite there yet.
okay, okay. Before we proceed, then I did have something I wanted to share with you guys. On the announcements page of Wayfinder, we do have a small update. So we have a first content update, and it states, as you saw during the Level Infinite showcase at Gamescom, the first content patch is coming in a few weeks. This timeline shifted due to the focus on fixing server issues, but it shouldn't be too long. It will include new weapons, new hunts, new quests, and more. The roadmap update has been announced. Basically just says due to like user feedback and stuff, there's going to be a Frost March expansion, echo adjustments, streamlining resources. There's nothing quite there about like streamlining echoes or anything like that yet, but they are slowly listening. So try and take that into account as we go into this conversation. Let's start with Molten Inferno, though. How are you, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being good, 1 being terrible? Right, you're going to run install at a 1. Where'd you rate this game?
For me right now, I think I'm going. Oh, I was gonna say an 8, but I mean, last night I was doing some farming for the archaic bones, and the drill event didn't spawn like 3 or 4 times in a row, and that kind of turned me off a bit, and I got disconnected a couple times just for going through loading screen. So honestly, right now the vibe is kind of like a 6.5 to a 7 type of deal.
Okay. Yeah. At least it's I'm so glad you said 6.5 instead of 6.3 like Subi does. But what about you, buddy?
Yeah, you know, I I've had a lot of fun this past week, but recently I feel like all the problems are just kind of wearing down. I do I believe the team is working really hard to fix all these issues, but just this current state of the game, I'm not extremely happy with it, honestly. Um, and maybe that's because I've spent quite a bit of time with it, and which is why I'm gonna take a little breather from it. Not because I'm not having fun, but because I want to give it a fair judgment when I'm playing it. Um, So, but and I'm talking about a week or at most, but honestly, I'd say it's I'd agree with Inferno. It's like a 6.5 too. Um, the lots of potential here, and I'm having fun with it. But the issues and some of the just lacking of certain features, I guess you should say, and quality of life and server stability is just not where I thought it would be at this point. Um, some days it feels more like a second paid beta than a than an early access, and so that just kind of ruins a little bit of the fun for me.
It's funny you say paid beta, because I'm pretty sure that's what I said it would be in a previous podcast before the game came out. It's nice to know I hit the nail on the head with it. But
Yeah, I feel like it. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think it's less than a early access because I feel like early access is a little more refined usually. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That's just me.
yeah, okay. Bing, do you want to go over your score quickly?
Yeah. So last time I went with an 8. Right now I feel I would. Well, it depends. If I go with just my own experience and nothing else, I think I would go down to a 7. But if I take into account like stuff that I hear from other people, like all the problems they got with the game, because for some reason I'm just dodging problems like left and right like a goddamn ninja. Like my game is running super smooth, and I'm just lucky, I guess. So if I take into account like problems that other people have, I think I would go down to a 6.5 too.
Okay. I'll do mine. I actually can't recall why I rated the game, but I think it was like pretty high, that 8 or 9 last time. I'm actually gonna. I think I'm going 7.5 on this. And the reason for that is for when I'm playing the game 8+ hours a day, it doesn't feel like it. I don't feel like I'm achieving as much anymore. And that's not just because of like XP nerfs or anything like that, but I'm getting to the point where, like, especially like later in the story, where I can kind of feel certain things not being as interesting to me. Like the story is it started off good. I kind of wish it took a different direction. Um, yeah, it's not like the story itself midway isn't holding me. at all. Kind of like similar to you being. I think you said where it was really up, then down, and yeah, this point of where I am in the story, yeah, just not holding, and constant disconnects really does add up, being annoying, and yeah, even just the way they're wording things and they're setting themselves up for a couple of L's there. They're not doing themselves any favors, and they need to be learning from this quick. Like just in the Wayfinder Discord tonight, when they put the announcement out about the compensation and the updates and stuff, I've got a comment in there which I'm going to screenshot after the podcast, and I'm going to keep it on file. And I've already gave a heads up about the free to play because they said something in the notes, basically about they've doubled or tripled the what was it? The capacity, right?
Yeah, server capacity.
Let me just see if I can find it here.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. And I wrote them like saying that, it's great that you've done the compensation and stuff. But like I hope you're not just thinking of doubling the current capacity for free to play. I hope it's well more than that. So I feel like a lot of people will come into the game. Sorry, and just to clarify, it's 3 times the launch capacity. Which launch capacity wasn't that great. And just even being at 3 times now, probably still not that great. For free to play, I probably want to go up to maybe times 10. Just to make sure that there's no long queues and the server stability is there. I don't know how you guys feel about that part of it, but that's the reason I've slightly lowered my rating as well. Like, their stuff is kind of worrying when they say 3 times launch capacity. Free to play is going to be in a couple of months. They've still got server issues, still got stability issues. I've still got client crashes.
Yeah, I will say, the fact it's a concern that they're having to worry so much about server when I feel like the game itself, like kind of being said, there's some stuff that is very unpolished that needs to be gotten to now. But they can't.
Yeah, I do agree. But the reason I haven't gone into that part is because I want to eventually go back into that side of it because I know like voice lines now are coming into it,
Right.
and that may, like, when they get added, that may kind of like upbeat it for me more to get more invested.
Yeah.
But I've held off on that kind of judgmental part just until those. I know they're coming real soon, I was told. And I've
Yeah,
held off just on that until they are added.
yeah, and I think that's kind of my concern is if they have a week long of the issues that we had in early access and are still kind of experiencing now, if there's a week of that in free to play, I kind of feel like that will really hurt the community for a long time. And I don't know if it would ever be able to fully recover from it. I think it's able to recover from it now, but free to play launch, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people, even like, so you have a lot of people angry, right? But you have a lot of people in that Wayfinder Discord as well, saying, it's early access. And I feel like those are the people that, if the free to play release messes up, they don't have a leg to stand on. Like, they're going to have to face a hard reality.
Yeah.
And I think the only way for the game to really then come back is to kind of pull like a Warframe. I think it was New Dream or something like that. Yeah, it's like quest expansion, whatever you call it. And that really sucked players back into Warframe at that point. Because that game actually went a little stale for a period of time as well. But it's going to require that if they mess up the launch, and if they do something like that and the launch is a mess, they are gonna need that shit polished. Like absolutely polished to even pull that back. And yeah. Inferno, you got anything you want to add to that, man?
Well, yeah, they're gonna have to really increase their capacity for free to play, because they're already in the hole on the Steam reviews, right? And I've already noticed there's a lot of people who've just basically been like, I'm just gonna leave this game alone and I'll come back when it's ready. Because right now, it's not. Like, for real. And if you look at free to play and the way it is now, let's be honest, the queue is gonna have to come back for free to play. Because the influx of players who are gonna come in from free to play, if they're not ready for it, we're gonna have the day one problem again. And it's gonna be real messy. So we'll see about that.
It's gonna actually make me wonder how they handle that as well. You have free to play players, you then have people that paid as well. There's gonna be any queue access if it is a shitty launch like that. For jumping the queue for the paid ones.
I don't think so.
I feel like probably not. It would be nice if they did that, but I mean, at the same time, if they want to keep it fair, everyone has to wait in the queue. So I don't know. I just hope that they're well ready for free to play when it comes in a couple months here.
Yeah,
because
I really do hope. I really do hope we are wrong with the Warriors. I feel like I really hope we're borrowing for nothing here. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
that's what I want. Like, I want them to succeed. I feel like there is a lot of love poured into this game, and when I play it, I can see that there's a lot of things that I want in the game, and I feel like need to be in the game pretty quickly. I'd like to. That I think is pretty important, even for early access, much less free to play. But that's the thing, is I want them to succeed. I think they are pouring a lot of work into it. And I think it sucks that there are just some of these problems that are still around, that it kind of feels like, kind of like when the story dies off, you don't feel like, a lot's being done. I kind of feel like sometimes it can feel like not a lot is progressing. Like, they're working really hard, but we don't see a huge jump in the amount of work they're putting in. And that concerns me. Like,
yeah,
I
they're working
don't
on
know
it,
if they
but
have enough people. Is my problem. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the problem is.
I would like.
they're working on it. But I don't know. They're working on it every day, but the progress they're making it seems very minimal from our point of view, at least, right? And if the problems we're having now aren't solved by like a month into the second season, then I think free to play is going to be a mess.
I'm kind of starting to wonder, like, if they maybe will need a bit more time in early access to have the game fully like ready for free to play. Like, maybe push free to play back by a month or two or something. Because I mean, we're not that deep into early access yet, but with the pace things are going right now, and considering the fact that they didn't even start on the things they wanted to do on early access, since they're still fixing bugs from the launch. I'm not sure if like they will have time to do everything they wanted before like free to play at this point.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this isn't communicated either, right? Like the capacity issue. No one's going rest assured. We've learned from our mistakes. The launch is in good hands this time, and I know it's a little early for them to be saying it, but even when they're directly PM'd on the Discord about it, you don't get anything back from that, which...
And that's another concern. I feel like a lot of the communication sometimes does happen in the direct responses. And some of that information is like really important, that you kind of have to be paying attention constantly.
Yeah. Inferno, do you want to add anything onto that, or are you kind of happy where you're sitting on that?
I mean, I'm kind of happy. I gave my review of the game. I mean, we know the queue is it's gonna have to exist in free to play. They're working on the game. They're making it better. We can see that. But the fact that we're almost exactly 2 weeks into
over 2 weeks
into the launch of this
as of
game
today.
here, and we're still having problems. It's a little concerning. I don't know. For me personally, if they don't fix things by, I'm gonna give them, let's say, a month into the second founder season. If we're not basically perfectly polished and they're putting all their time into quality of life, new content, and just like fixing up the actual gameplay stuff, if we're not there yet by that time, then I'm I'm worried. I'll be really worried for free to play and everyone coming in, because like Maltese said earlier, if they don't handle the free to play launch, then their Steam reviews are going to go even further down, and their just reputation with the community might just plummet.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Let's go on to the second topic. Let's go with expectations or your wish list. So, Bing, if you want to start this one off, because I think me and you briefly went over this on a different podcast. Knowing what you know from the updated patch notes and roadmap,
Yeah.
is there anything now?
So expectation and wish list for the patch that we're getting in a week or two. So it's not supposed to be a massive content patch, like it's not something to the size of like season 2 or whatever, but it's still a content patch, which in the first place I'm surprised we already have, like not even a month in, but that's always good stuff. So for expectation, I'm just gonna keep them somewhat low for now, since I don't think they will do anything massive with the game. But we already know that there are more bosses coming, and I just really hope that they will be on par with the quality of the first few bosses of the game, and not like the ones in the second zone. Because, like, honestly, at this, like, the boss in the second zone almost feels like bigger and basic enemies, and that's pretty much it. Like, they don't have anything special going on with them, I feel. So I really hope like they bring back some good, like, enjoyable boss fights. That will be nice. The weapons we already got spoiled a bit. Not, I don't think they will be more than the 4 ones we've got. We've talked about them in part 1. I'm like 50-50 on them. I really like 2 of them. I pretty much dislike the other 2. So yeah, we'll have to go with that, I guess. For stuff I'm wish like, I hope they change a bit the echo system, because right now we can equip multiple like of the same echo for some reason. I'm not sure if it's intended or not, but I feel it just kind of breaks the game. Just stack like the same echo with massive stats and just have like 10,000 weapon power and one shot everyone with Tempest. But
that's something I like that you can do compared to Warframes. We can have the same echo, but I don't know. It could be pretty bland if you're just stacking all the same echo, which is kind of what I'm doing right now. I have like 4 or 5 of the same echo, and then everything else is basically quality of life for my character.
Well, because right now what I dislike about the fact that you can have multiple of the same echo is, let's say you get like a purple echo that you really wanted. It doesn't feel as special, because technically you could have multiple, like just having the one that you finally drop just kind of diminish, because you feel like, oh, I need 5 more to make my build. While if you have, just one echo of a variety of monster, well, first you gotta like do more content across the board, which is nice, but you need to like tinker your build a bit more, and you'll find echoes that works with the slots you have and with the stats that you want. Like, it's just a bit more like, working on your build, instead of, I'm gonna slap like 10 freaking bone cruncher echo and just roll with it.
Yeah.
Feels a bit bland. So
Okay.
yeah, that's pretty much my wish list for now.
Inferno, how about you, buddy?
Well, if we're going for what I'd like to see here, well, the first thing we'll just start off with just full-on queue removal would be nice. Of course, we all want raids. And then talking about the XP nerf, I'm hoping for some way for us to actually dedicate level up our weapons and characters would be nice. And as well, if we're going back to the Echo thing, it'd be nice for us to get some sort of like better quality of life echoes, like say ability casting speed or weapon attack speed. Like the Epitaph, people are complaining it's pretty slow, but if you could speed it up, that would be way better for it. So there's that. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say with the Epitaph, because that's one of the main weapons I use. There's a couple of times where you just flat out miss your hits from where like the boss has moved slightly, and it just it just leeches you forward. You do
Yeah.
feel the weight behind it. I do get why they done it that way. Like it does feel a really weighty weapon, but there's feeling that, and then there's gameplay, right? And then the gameplay, it's it should be a little better. I mean, even what's the actual weapon skill itself should be even faster as well. Or yeah, you want to be spamming that a bit as well to get the effect, because you can stack the effect currently, and it just feels super slow in between animations on that. So I do feel you with that one.
There was more on my wish list, but I looked at their roadmap here, and they have a lot of good things that are coming. So there's not much else I want to add to that.
Yeah. Okay. Mo, how about you, buddy?
Yeah. Other than just kind of the stuff we talked about with, the stuff that's already on their radar with, respecking, selling accessories that are over 100 gold. Other than what they're kind of already on their mind and hopefully we'll get to, I think this is something that I would love to see added before free to play, especially in the terms of new players. And actually have it out in the feedback. As a training ground to practice abilities. I think that too much is like left to you just to figure out. Like heavy attacks, blocking, that sort of thing is just not taught to you. And I would love to see in Skylight a place to like training grounds to like practice your abilities and stuff. Like I think that would really help the game for newer players to get a grasp of stuff. And have just more tutorials. But yet, not having to bog them down for those who don't want it, but make sure you really, drill into their minds. This is where you can go if you don't know how to do anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I'd say it doesn't have to be as in depth as like Warframe's like Simulacrum, right? Where you can
Yeah.
spawn different enemies. Like, you don't even have to have that. Just have like a dummy we can smack around,
Yes.
check our damage, and then maybe have like a tutorial zone where you can go in and be like, oh, how do I parry or whatever, and then it'll bring you to like a little zone where it makes you parry like 3 or 4 enemies.
Well,
Do
for
you think a DPS
dummies,
meter?
yeah, for dummies, they're already in the game. Like there is some, I think, in lower skylight that you can just smack around and do whatever, but like they're not really interactive. I feel just like damage
They're
numbers
just there,
popping up,
yeah.
and
Do you
that's
feel
it.
like a DPS meter would benefit at all?
Yes.
You know, like you go
Yeah.
of other games. I know in Guild Wars it's Arc DPS. Star Wars it was Star Pass. You know, like you get like everyone in your groups on the board, and you get to see who's doing what, so you know who's pulling weight, who's not, etc.
Oh yeah, I know people are asking for at the end of a dungeon. We want to see people's damage dealt, how many kills each player has.
I mean, I would like to see it live, even though, like being able to enable a UI option where you can see what each individual person is, if you're healing, DPS, that sort of thing. Mainly DPS, since healing isn't as much of a focus here. But yeah, I that was actually one of the things I forgot to mention. But yeah, thanks Tom for bringing that up.
I would love that, to be fair. Like,
Yeah, that'd be
just for
interesting.
raids and stuff. It'd be also interesting to go pugging with as well.
I mean, I feel like live like DPS or healing meter would work a bit less well than we think, since it's like a more dynamic game with lots of stuff moving around. Would be like hard to really measure correctly, I feel. But like Inferno said, like just one at the end of the dungeon. Like they pretty much already have the screen for it. There's like one section of the end screen dungeon that just like a recap of some stats, but there's like three in there. There's like your time, numbers of enemies killed, and something else. Like I feel they could put a bit more in that, but I'm not sure like a live meter would work.
I know, like Warframe, they have the percent right at the end where it says damage dealt, so it will balance out 100% between the was it 4 party members in
Yeah, the
there.
4 party members.
So something like that in this game would actually be pretty beneficial, like that at the end on the end screen.
Yeah, just to see who's doing what.
Yeah, because we know, like, obviously like Kairos and this and that, they're going to be pumping some numbers, but outside of the obvious, right? You'd still, I'm sure people would want to know, what are the silos doing, what are the DPS Wingraves doing, etc.
Well, even like let's say you don't use it to just compare with your teammates, just for yourself, like see if your build works, like if your numbers make sense, or if you're missing something somewhere that could make it better. Like that's a nice way of checking. Does like, especially since, as I mentioned in part one, we like the stats are so hard to really measure with the numbers they're using, that I feel just something to reference, say, oh, I did good this dungeon, see if my stuff is working or not.
Yeah, like I get into a party with a bunch of Nisses all the time, right? Yeah. And it's hard to tell who's doing the DPS. So
going back to the stats though. That's that's the one of the biggest things on my wish list right now. Crit and crit damage. Okay, they need to be percent. For all I know, if I put 3,000 points in a crit chance at whatever level I am, does that mean 30% crit chance? 50? 60? How much is too much? How much until I hit diminishing returns? And I feel like at the moment, because of the way the stats are in this game, people are probably going into diminishing returns when they could stat something else.
yeah, because we don't know what 3,000 or 4,000 mean.
Yeah. So like everyone I know on Kairos is going ability power, right? But how much is too much? If there is a cap on it. That hasn't been clarified either. For all we know, there might not even be a cap. But even then, it doesn't translate into anything that we can actually understand. Like, how much is too much weapon power? How much before you need to start investing into some defense or some survivability, or even into the ability power, like on a Wingrave, to maximize some more heals? Like, it's just not known. And do we even know if the defense stats working correctly? Because there's been a couple of like rumors going around that it doesn't really matter how much of that you stack, like it's not really noticeable either. So,
well, for sure, like myself, I'm running Wingrave and I'm running a lot of defensive stats, and I don't feel the difference as much. Like in some dungeons, I like actually earlier tonight I got like one shot by an enemy in the Bloodworks, which is a like way lower level dungeon than I am, and some dude just like smacked me 4 times and killed me. I was like,
yep,
what
I
the
know
hell?
who you're talking about.
Yeah, like I have 4,000 defense. How did this guy one shot me pretty much? And he's like level 17.
It's a bit weird on that front. Like for my Nis build, I'm going basically glass cannon, and then whenever I get smacked around too hard, I stack up some defense, but it really doesn't seem to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they don't even have to change the stats that they're showing. Like if they want to keep like their 3,000 crit rating number, sure, why not? But just like make it so when we check the stats, like let's say we hover over it with our mouse, it just like shows the maths, like how does this stats work, pretty much like how do they calculate it? Just show something. No, like they don't need to change the number itself, but just show how it works, how we can calculate it ourselves.
Yeah, like you hover over it and you're at 1,000, and it's like, okay, 1,000 means 10%, 2,000, 20%, or whatever, just so we know.
Because at the moment, I did do some experimenting with this, with the defense as well, when I read the post saying it's probably not working, or not working as it should do. I actually done the stupid thing, and I went and made some trinkets, and I put like Kairos' physical defense up to almost 3k, and needs magic defense up, I think, a little higher than that. I felt it more on the damage side, but he melted either way, really. Like I purposely stood there and went to tank some hits, you know. But I feel like HP is more beneficial to stack than physical and magic defense right now. That's my feeling on it, at least. Like, it didn't make me feel any kind of tankier, even on the most squishiest, like one of the most squishiest Wayfinders going. Yeah. It is interesting.
Even health, I feel, is not like changing that much because I'm stacking that too, and like I said, going into I got like 4-shot by a random level 17 dude. So like actually, I'm gonna open the game right now to see my stat spread a bit, but I feel like there's some like either the stat don't change that much or they just bug for some reason. But
No, but
like
what I mean by health though is you can visibly see that, at least like when you're healing yourself and stuff, like the health's there, you know. Where I'm not saying it's stacking health's going to be as good as defense, and that should be, but right now it feels like that's more valuable than those two, if that makes sense. Like, are they
Because it's the only
actually
thing you
even
can
working?
measure really right now.
Yeah. That's why I'm coming from on it, because that I can visually see. I know the health's working as intended. I don't know if that defense is working as intended, and it definitely doesn't feel it. And if it does, it scales like I don't know. It's not like Warframe where I can stack a bunch of armor, right, and all of a sudden I feel really, a lot more tankier than what I did like when I didn't. In this game, not really noticeable. Even going into insane amounts. I mean, the player Wolf that we play with, that guy's stacking insane amount of stats just to tank, because he wants to be a tank, and it feels no different for him. Even if he shredded half of that, he probably wouldn't even notice.
I mean, I just opened the game just to check, and it's even worse than I thought. Like for the dude that just killed me, and I couldn't do anything about it. I thought I had 3,000 physical defense. Turns out I'm at 5,000 right now, and I still got just killed straight up by a little basic enemy, and I couldn't do anything about it with all those stats.
I guess that would also be one thing on my wish list is let there be more like straight actual tanks and healers. Like I know they're kind of shying away from straight healers, but I really hope there is a more like healer focused Wayfinder.
Yeah,
like
I agree with that actually.
I
Yeah, for
want that
raids
to
it'd be
be a
good.
thing, and right now I just feel like the roles aren't they're too the same.
Yeah, like right now when I play Windgrave, if I want to heal someone, I don't even have to change my gameplay. I just still keep hitting the enemy, and I'm just gonna heal in the background and don't even think about it. Like, there's no way of like, oh, I see my teammate is low and needs help. I'm gonna focus my healing on him. Just
I
Yeah.
hit the
I
boss and
do get where you come from on that. And I would like to see some, pure tanks to go with those pure healers, etc. But in other games that I've been in, role compression is a thing, right? And if you can fit an extra 2 DPS and have the tanks also heal, that's a faster time, right? Faster clear time. Um, so I guess it really depends on like where they go on the next few characters that come out and the type of like how they're doing the raids and stuff. Would a pure healer work in this game? Sure. But when it comes to like getting the kills fast and efficient, not even outside of time runs, just take a more standard group approach. I think role compression in this game, depending on where they go with it, could be a thing. And if role compression happens, those characters may get pushed out of like a standard group. I mean, of course, you can still use them, in like pub groups or stuff. But yeah, like
Yeah,
that's my general
they
view
need
on
to
that.
create a need for it, not just a character for it. Like
Yeah,
they need to make sure they have that. But I think it's hard because I want there to be a distinct difference between the roles, at least enough to where it feels like they have their own identity. Not necessarily that there's no overlap, but I feel like if you don't have enough distinctiveness, then it kind of can run together, and you kind of then, even though if you have the Holy Trinity, of MMOs in it, it won't really feel like you do because there isn't like a
I mean,
flavor to it.
the one way they could make it work though with that is we've gone on about tanks and healers, right? But what about healer DPS? What
we
about
have one
tank and
already.
DPS?
It's
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
I know we haven't, but like they've got to make it appealing, more appealing than what it is for people to go that way. Because at the moment, people are just going to sit Wingraves in their group and go ham, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
No one's
That's
gonna
being
really,
able to
no one's
tank and
really
heal is
gonna,
great.
no one's really gonna take a Senja. Right, and let's see what Wingrave offers. He's got some invulnerability there, alright? That's already going to be hard to compete with. So make a tank DPS and let it kind of go ham, let it do something unique. Let it bring something to the table that others don't. Wingraves is the invulnerability field. Let it compete with that. It's got to match that, it's got to be useful.
Yeah, and I
Like,
think Senja will be useful in raids for buffing, but as an off tank.
Well, the thing is with tanks right now, like tanks don't even feel really necessary because you have no
Yeah,
way of making sure the boss like stays on you. You know, the boss will just
yeah,
wander around and hit anyone. So like you don't really need a full on tank right now.
yeah. There's very few fights where, like, if any, that's yeah. Another part of the problem is it feels like everyone needs to avoid damage, and everyone like needs to use. And they have such a reliance on your potions too, instead of another player. That you honestly don't even know. Like, for instance, Venomous, right? Who is probably the closest thing we have to this is a healer DPS and stuff. But people don't even know how to like stand in my thing when I put it when I use my ability to heal. They just run off and use their own healing potions.
Yeah, that too.
I think that's because the game's new though, and they've got a lack of understanding. Like,
That's true.
Yeah,
imagine if you just joined the game, right? You're playing Silo or Venomous or Ranged, and you may not have even played Wingrave or even know what he does because you just don't care at that point. Like, you're just having a fun time on that character, right? I feel
Yeah.
like maybe as the game is out more and people wise up a bit to what's really going on, and you never know, maybe some data mines or something come out with stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, my game a little more interesting. I think people will start playing around different characters because they know them more. But at this point, I feel like it is a little too early to expect people to know like.
Oh yeah, I wasn't like
for sure.
But my thing is that they're able, like, almost like you don't need a healer. Not only that they aren't like relying on your heals, that like it doesn't feel a lot needed either.
Well, I guess I'll be adding that to my wish list, but I very wish like they would make things feel like actual things. Like right now on Wingrave with my taunt, I don't even use the taunt for the taunt. I use it just for the debuffs that come with it, because it's just nice to have that's some off healing, and I have like a thing that enemies do less damage when they're taunted, but like I feel half the time the taunt doesn't work, and it's such on a long cooldown that like I don't feel I can tank for my team pretty much. So, like right now, the best use I have of my tanking stats is just reviving people, because I know I can take a bit more hits than them. But
Yeah.
I will have to move us on from this topic though because of time. But it has been a real
Alright.
interesting one to cover. So we're gonna go on to the last topic then. Does the game need PvP? And I believe Bing thought this one up, right? This was your topic.
no, I think it was Inferno actually.
Oh, Inferno.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, Inferno, your topic. You lead with it. Okay.
I'll lead with it. All right. Well, first of all, we can just easily go look at Warframe real quick. Nobody does the PvP, okay? Nobody. All right. People play PvE games so they can do PvE. All right. We look at Destiny. They make you do PvP for your weekly. I forget what they're called, but your like crystal pack things that you open. I'm gonna get killed by Destiny people now. But like they basically make you do it, right? But a lot of people are like, I don't even want to do PvP. Like, why even do it? People play PvE games to play PvE. So I know people are asking for it. Some people are like iffy either way. And so like it's getting to the devs. They're thinking about maybe doing it in the future. Probably not soon if they do it, but they're definitely thinking about it. And I just don't think this game needs it, to be honest.
I'll go next on that. I do agree with you on Warframe because that is a dead game mode, and I feel like it is even in most MMOs that heavily focus on PvE. And I feel like it'd be dead in this game as well. To be fair, it'd be an interesting concept, and I think people will hype around it for like 5 minutes, and then after that get bored and be like, "It's not what I wanted," and then just go on to this, the next PvP game that they can play. That seems to be a general trend as well. Like, oh yeah, this game's got PvP, and oh no, it's not what I wanted. I thought it might be better than this, and then they just go. And this is it. To me, PvP in Wayfinder, it'd be a fad. It will come in. It might start strong a bit. Sure, there'll be a couple of core players playing it. Everyone's got to find their own field. But it's going to be dead. Same as
I think they're gonna
Warframes.
put it out. It's gonna die.
Don't
Like Destiny has incentive to do it, so they could add incentive for us to do it. But I mean, if it's a big enough incentive, people just won't do it.
I would say to the devs, if they ever hear this, don't waste your time or resources, and make another raid instead.
Yeah,
we see your priorities.
So
yeah, make a raid. Don't waste your time doing balances for player versus player.
Yeah, that's one thing I will say. PvP means if something's overpowered, that still needs to be worked on, and in PvE, it's important. But when you have to worry about a character not being too fun because it might break PvP, that can cause a lot of just meh feelings for everyone in PvE.
Iro's full enough incoming for that if PvP does come.
Yeah, but I did hear the community managers talk about. I don't think they're as interested in PvP as PvE PvP. like lots of competitions between groups, or like leadership runs, or well, the way I would think it would be run is kind of almost similar to Gambit in Destiny, where the majority of it is really just competing against like a timer to see who finishes first and gets the most points of Gambit. So I could see that working, a PvE focused one that's against other players in that way. I think that's the only way I could see it not being too worrisome with balancing for PvP while still having a more competitive nature against other players.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that example too well. Just to clarify, can you so that's player versus environment, but you're competing against other players, so you can't kill them or anything?
Well, you actually can, but only at certain times.
Okay,
It's been a while
'cause-
since I played it. So if you can think about it, it's like imagine you're running around killing NPCs, and you're trying to get a certain level, and then you bring back an item, and then a portal can basically open up, and you basically can go into the enemy team and start killing them to kind of set them back. But really, it's about rushing to get the highest point. So there's some actual PvP nature in them, but not hardcore, if that makes sense. In Gambit.
okay, so that kind of parts of that is very similar to Guild Wars 2 World vs. World. It does have some PvE elements in that. But the sucky news is, shit like that still needs balance. And it's going to be another balance that they've got to do. And if they can balance that, then pure PvP players will be like, why can't you make that mode? Because, if you're doing half a step, you may as well take the whole step. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see it maybe working. Like the way I had it down is maybe like a times or something. Let's say they make like a little coliseum of bosses, right? There's 3 bosses, and each team competes on time or mechanics, like how many failed mechanics and stuff like that. And there's a leaderboard for that.
Yeah, that'd be the best way to implement it.
Something that keeps it pure PvE and doesn't require wasted time on balance. Because I do feel like what you said would be fun.
Yeah,
just not in this game.
I mean, I agree. There's a slew of problems, and also just to take a moment. Sorry to all the Destiny fans if I messed up description of Gambit at all. It's been a while since I played it, but yeah, I think it could be fun, but it could also. I mean, at this point, I want the PvE to be really strong before they even think about doing something like that. And that's my concern is, I think it would require a bigger team, and it would require them. Yeah, I think you said like at times and like a Coliseum would be really fun. Like, and that would be a cool way of competition and kind of have that being that striving for skill to be better than another player. But like a lot of people, there's always a select few of people that just thrive in that PvP community. But usually it's very small that are actual like die-hard PvP fans. Like that's kind of what happened at Destiny is it kind of became very small like group of people who played PvP constantly. You know, and then Destiny also wanted to go back on it, and that's a whole another topic. But that's the problem is it could cause a lot more drama if they ever want to stop supporting that, and then the balancing issues and everything.
Yeah, I'd say definitely for this game, keep it pure PvE. Just keep the focus on actual content. Like as I said, you can make raids as hard as possible, or I think hunts based on the roadmap they wanted to make the hardest content available. Actually, I tell you one more thing on the wish list though. Please, for the love of fucking God, allow me to group with my actual guildies. If I want to make like a 6-man squad to go and hit a world boss, please make it happen.
Oh yeah, we need that for sure.
Yeah.
And I would like them to actually at least try. I feel like it doesn't even try to bring them to when you group up on a stone, you all get put into a new server. So I did that to try to kill the worm boss back when it was a long timer. And I got put into a different server where the boss wasn't up. And that was very frustrating.
Bing, how about you, buddy? You've been quiet a little bit now.
I
What are your
haven't been
thoughts?
just sticking at the back and listening to you guys. I will. On the whole, does the game need PvP subject? I can't add anything else than you guys haven't already said because I also don't think the game needs PvP. But I will say, to just go up slightly off for a second, that I feel PvP would work if they did try to implement it. Like, I feel the combat system of the game is set in a way that it just would work. Like, it almost feels like Dark Souls PvP pretty much, with like your limited potions, having to manage your roll and your stamina and all that stuff. Like, I feel it would work, would be solid. The only thing that might cause a bit of problem is guns, because these
Yeah,
things
I was just
are
thinking about that.
kind of a pain, and just keeping away, since like everyone is moving at the same speed and have the same like movement option, unless you're playing like this or something. But like that might need a bit of a tweak, but I feel if they did try to implement PvP, would work pretty well, and at least much better than Warframe. Like I feel why Warframe failed on PvP just because the game is such a mess movement wise that like just two drunk flies trying to hit each other pretty much. So
Yeah, it's just too fast for PvP.
yeah,
I don't know. In this game, like Tom was saying, some sort of like PvE competition between players would be nice. Like you have your team, you go in, you have to beat whatever time, and then the squads who do get a reward for that week or something, and then the squads who don't get nothing.
Kind of like a rank system, similar to like World of Warcraft, I guess.
Yeah,
that would work. But I feel if they did try full on just PvP, they could make it work. But
they could
it
probably
would,
make it happen, but
yeah, but it would
But
take too much of a toll on PvE to be worth
there's
it.
the one driving reason why I suggested that is like we've got quite a few stag teams, being built in the guild right now, right? Would you love to not all compete against each other one day, just for fun, and see where you come? Like I know for us right now, if we were to do that on the current system, that's a lot of work we got to do our end to get that going. Got to sync
Yeah.
everyone up on stream and stuff.
Mhm.
It is possible, but it's going to take a lot of work. Having it in game would make that so much easier, and I'm pretty sure like you could do like guild versus guild teams, etc. like that. It just
That'd
opens
be
up that
sweet.
kind of
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, Tom, though, now that you're kind of mentioning it, if people do want to like just group up and test each other, I guess one other, we do have an event coming fairly soon for the guild that will put groups against one another, so that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, just be prepared for the Knights to win, y'all. That's all I gotta say.
Do you care to go into? Do you care
Knights
to?
for the win.
Do you care to put
Knights.
some details into that? There's
Well,
kind of a
So,
teaser here. I want to know more.
oh yeah, it is a teaser, but like right now the full calendar is not out, but it will come tomorrow. So I mean, if people do want to know, they can just join our Discord server and check the event calendar. It's gonna be up right there.
Yeah, and I think with that, uh, that's about it for now. Really, I mean, I feel like we've covered everything, and pushing time wise as well. We could have probably done an extra half an hour to an hour on some of this stuff. Really gone into it a little more, but um. So yeah, let's get Molten Inferno. If you want to do a quick reminder, so the guys know what it is you're doing, so you're like your Twitch, your YouTube, etc. like that. Put a reminder out there about who you guys are and what it is you're doing.
I guess I'll go first. So I'm Maltese Knights. I stream and do some YouTube content, which I think Tom will have in the link description below. So you guys can check that out. But just kind of get an expectation of what you'll see. You'll see me playing Wayfinder mostly, and just kind of making some quick guides, trying to get the info out to you guys so that since there's such a lack of kind of database built up for all this stuff, I'm really going to try my best to answer your questions through videos or in stream. I'm also open ears to hearing all your guys' crazy builds and stuff and tips. I'm always learning, so yeah, it's a fun time. I try to interact with you guys as much as possible who come over and see me if you want. But yeah, have a fun time, put some chill music on, and grind away.
Nice. And Inferno, buddy.
As I said earlier, I'm a new content creator focusing on basically Wayfinder right now. And basically what I'm doing on my channel, Infernal Blaze 47 on YouTube, by the way, is what I'm doing is I'm trying to basically gather information about how to do things that the game doesn't really tell you about and try and explain it to you, or explain certain systems, or how certain boss mechanics may work. A little bit of a spoiler there. Yeah, if you have any criticisms or anything, or any tips for me on YouTube, feel free to just comment them on my video and just let me know.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think you both said in the past, right? Because I know when we were getting feedback for the last podcast, you two were saying to the guys that they could give you feedback, right, on that.
Oh yeah.
So if you do have any feedback on like to help these guys grow, even positive, negative, whatever, just better be upfront. Just nothing like hate speech or anything like that. But if you do have any feedback, like leave in the comments section on their videos or say it on our Discord server, you know, I'm sure they'll appreciate every step so they can help improve, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm totally looking to learn as much as possible about the game and also content creation. So I'd be much appreciated for any of you guys to give some honest feedback.
Yeah, feel
Yeah.
free to DM me, leave a comment on the video, or whatever, man. Just let me know.
Lovely. And I think with that then, the only thing I've got really to say is if you do want to get involved with us, there is a video on the YouTube channel that you can watch saying get involved with Retribution. Go watch that. You can find out how you can take part in our giveaways and events, and you can just hang out with us on the Discord and stuff. We don't buy. If you need help, if you're a solo player, perhaps you're in a guild already and you just want to dip your hand into another honeypot, we are the place to do it. Come hang out. Come take part. Come get involved. And with that, guys, that's the end of part 2. So, bye-bye from me. And, yeah, that's the video. You
See
want
you
to say anything,
guys.
guys, to that?
See you guys.
Yeah.
See ya.
Catch you later.